Good morning, good morning. Today we will convene NATO foreign ministers here in Prague, in this beautiful historic city. We will discuss the preparations for the upcoming Washington summit in July. And there are three main topics. First, Ukraine. Allies have provided unprecedented support to Ukraine. Just last week, Belgium announced 30 more F-16s, and Spain and Sweden announced new packages of more than 1 billion euros each for air defense, for artillery, and for other important equipment for Ukraine. And these and other announcements comes on top of the US decision of 61 billion extra US dollars for Ukraine. But we will address how to make sure that we sustain and step up our support for Ukraine. And I have proposed that NATO should play a bigger role in the coordination and the supply of security assistance and training for Ukraine. And I also proposed a multi-year financial pledge to ensure more accountability and predictability in the support we provide to Ukraine, because we need to make sure that Moscow understands that we are prepared for the long haul in our support for Ukraine. We will also address our deterrence and defense. We have new defense plans. Allies are allocating more forces, high readiness to NATO. And this is also reflected in the fact that more and more allies are investing more in defense, meeting the 2% guideline. The Czech Republic, for instance, will be at 2% of GDP for defense this year. And thirdly, we will address how to further strengthen our global partnerships, in particular with our Asia-Pacific partners, Australia, New Zealand, Japan and South Korea. They will be at the summit in July, and it's important to strengthen the partnership with them to address more global competition. And with that, I'm ready to take your questions.
Okay, we'll start with Ansgar. Ansgar? Yep.
Secretary General, what's your comment on the latest news from the United States? Is it enough what the United States will allow Ukraine to defend Kharkiv? Thank you.
Well, I welcome that NATO allies are providing support to Ukraine in many different ways, but I will not go into the details about exactly what type of support and how Ukraine is using the different type of support they are getting. What I have stated many times is that we need to remember what this is. This is a war of aggression. Russia has attacked another country, violated international law, invaded Ukraine, and Ukraine has the right for self-defense, and that includes also the right to strike legitimate military targets inside Russia. And let me add to that, this is even more urgent as we see that Russia has opened a new front. They have attacked now again from the north into the Kharkiv region, and the borderline and the front line is more or less the same. So they are hitting Ukraine with missiles, with artillery based inside Russia. And of course, Ukraine must be able to hit back and to defend themselves. This is part of the right for self-defense.
Thank you. We'll take a question from Reuters.
With Reuters. SecGen, could you tell us your expectation? How will it change the situation on the battlefield in Ukraine now that several allies have lifted restrictions on the use of detonated weapons inside Russian territory? And the second one, if I may, how concerned are you over Ukrainian attacks on Russian nuclear radar stations? Thank you.
Several allies have never imposed any restrictions on the supply they have delivered to Ukraine. And again, this is a matter of upholding international law, Ukraine's right to self-defense. Russia has attacked, Ukraine has the right to defend themselves, and that includes also attacking military legitimate targets inside Russia. If you look at the battlefield now, Russia is launching attacks on Ukrainian soil from Russian soil. With artillery, with missiles, they're massing troops, and of course it makes it very hard for Ukraine to defend themselves if they're not allowed to use advanced weapons to repel those attacks. Many allies have made it clear that they of course accept that Ukraine is using the weapons they have received to defend themselves, including by striking military targets inside Russia, especially when those military facilities are used in attacking direct attacks on Russian soil. Then we all expect that this is done in accordance with international law and in a responsible way.
Radar stations, please.
Well, I will not go into the details except for saying that, of course, we all assume that this will be done in a responsible way.
AFP.
Thank you, Secretary General. Following up on the similar issue, Putin has warned about serious consequences if the West lets Ukraine strike with its weapons inside Russia. Do you fear now escalation from Russia, and do you think Russia could strike back against NATO territory itself? Thank you.
Well, this is nothing new. As our allies have for many years, or since this war started back in 2022, accepted that their weapons are used also for strikes against legitimate targets inside Ukraine. For instance, the United Kingdom has provided Storm Shadow cruise missiles for a long time without any restrictions. So this has been the case for a long time. It has also been the case for a long time that every time NATO allies are providing support to Ukraine, President Putin is trying to threaten us to not do that. The day of the invasion, he gave a speech where he threatened all countries that were going to provide any support to Ukraine, that was dangerous and that would have consequences. And that has been the message every time we have made decisions to deliver long-range artillery, HIMARS, advanced battle tanks, cruise missiles, or F-16 fighter jets. So this is part of the efforts by President Putin in Moscow to prevent NATO allies from supporting Ukraine to defend themselves. And again, Ukraine has the right for self-defense. We have the right to help Ukraine uphold the right for self-defense, and that does not make NATO allies a party to the conflict. That was the case back in February 2022, that was the case last year, and that remains the case. And escalation, well, Russia has escalated by invading another country, and Russia has escalated just the last weeks by opening a new front where they are hitting Ukraine from inside Russia. And of course, to assume that Ukraine should not hit back is in no way reasonable, because Ukraine must be able to defend their territory, also of course by hitting the artillery, the missiles which are launched against them from inside Ukraine, inside Russia, sorry.
Okay, we'll go to Czech Radio and then CNN.
At the Washington summit, are you going to discuss or take any new measures regarding Russia, which is increasingly hostile to NATO countries?
Well, NATO allies are providing a wide range of different types of support to Ukraine, economic, humanitarian, financial, but also military support. And NATO allies are also imposing sanctions on Russia to make sure that they have to pay a cost for this absolutely unacceptable violation of international law, invading another country. I expect that the new decisions at the summit, when it comes to helping Ukraine to defend against the Russian invasion, will be on a bigger NATO role in coordinating the supply of weapons, of ammunition, of training to Ukraine. And I also proposed a financial pledge to ensure more long-term predictability, to help to prevent what we have seen over the last months, where we have seen some gaps and delays. And this has made it more difficult for the Ukrainians to defend themselves because there have been serious delays in the provision of ammunition from NATO allies. This is now being addressed, but I think to ensure more predictability, more robust support, we should have a bigger NATO role in the provision of support and a multi-year financial pledge, and I expect allies to agree that by the summit.
Okay, final question for CNN.
Good morning. How do you see Russian movements in Baltic Sea and Russian demands to negotiate about front lines?
In the Baltic Sea?
Yes.
Well, also any changes of borders, unilateral changes of borders, is violation of international law, and Russia has signed the Convention on the Law of the Seas, and of course we expect Russia to fully comply with international law, including when it comes to maritime borders. So any unilateral change or attempt to change borders, delimitation lines at sea is unacceptable and should not happen.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Move over there.
Good morning, everyone. The Minister will have opening remarks, and then please raise your hand for questions.
So good morning. I'm glad that today we move to the business. We will have a discussion on possible results of Washington summit. I expect that the way how to help Ukraine will be the leading agenda. Since Putin has decided to escalate, he started offensive in Kharkiv, provocations in Narva. We can see sabotages in UK, in Poland. So I will be calling on common NATO strategy to contain Russia. That will be my main message. I think the city of Prague, which has experience with Russian tanks, is a good place to discuss that. And also I would like to mention that in this very building where the ministerial takes place was dissolved Warsaw Pact, so it's also quite symbolic place. So.
First question, Czech TV, then we'll go in.
Mr. Minister, what is the main goal you want to reach with your partners today here in the meeting in Prague?
So preparations for the NATO summit are quite complex things. So we will discuss, we will see what is the common position on a proposal of Secretary General to roughly say Czechia supports this direction. Of course, always we need to discuss details, especially when it comes to money.
About the reluctance of countries in pledging for the Czech ammunition initiative, and also how concerned are you that the German air defense initiative is picking up really slowly?
So first of all, I would like to thank all the countries which decided to join Czech ammunition initiative, which pledged, and especially to those who already paid. And it will be literally next month, in a few weeks, when first physical delivery, the first batches will be delivered to Ukraine, so they could use it to defend themselves from the barbaric Russian invasion. Of course, current number of money could cover 500,000 shells for the rest of this year, so at some point we will ask for more, and I fully agree with the Stoltenberg's calling for sustainability, and definitely our initiative fits into that, but we can see that this initiative came in a situation when we saw the lack of ammunition on the Ukraine front line, as well as the German initiative is coming in a moment when there is a lack of anti-air measures, being it rockets, interceptors, being in the launchers as such. So therefore I'm calling for strategy, not to have ad hoc solutions, hot fixes. You know, we need to send strong message to Putin that his calculation on imperialism will not work.
Gentlemen.
Minister, yesterday, apparently the US decided to lift restrictions with regard to...
Sorry again?
Yesterday the US lifted restrictions apparently with regard to the use of Western weapons
Yeah.
to other countries, such as Germany, follow this example?
I welcome the decision by the Charter of UN. Ukraine was attacked and has a right to defend itself. It makes only sense to stop those attacks before they happen on Ukraine territory.
Czech Radio.
Czech Radio Minister, could you comment on what your colleague from Hungary said, which is that the Foreign Ministers' Council is held in pro-war atmosphere?
I would say that we need to defend Europe, we need to defend Czechia, and we need to defend our way of life from the barbaric Russian imperialism. We need to contain Russia.
Any other questions?
Okay,
No
thank you very much.
question.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Everyone, my name is Baiba Braja. I'm Latvian Foreign Minister, the new one, first NATO ministerial for me. An important day for all of us. It's an informal ministerial, so there won't be so much in the public as always from the formal meetings. But very clearly, the main issue to discuss is Ukraine and the package that we will get ready for Ukraine in terms of both practical support, coordination of assistance, civilian part, political part, but also how to bridge the current status of Ukraine with a future membership in NATO, which has been politically decided already. That's where we are. For Latvia, it's very important also to be very clear that we need a containment strategy for Russia. Our problem is Russia. We will support Ukraine, we will do everything that is necessary, but the main issue is Russia. Russia is the one that is creating problems for all of us. It's not going to go away. The structures, the system is what it is, so we have to be ready not only deter and defend, but also have a comprehensive toolbox to deal with Russia. So those are the issues I will be raising here. We are also very grateful to all the allies, ensuring deterrence and defense on the Latvian territory and across the allies' territory. So NATO is a peace alliance, as strong as ever, more than 2% for defense. In Latvian case, it's 3% for defense capabilities. It's the alliance able both to deter and defend. Thank you.
Minister, why is the German air defense initiative picking up so slowly?
There are objective reasons for that. I mean, we have as many air defense capabilities as we have. To produce new ones, to buy new ones takes time. So it's prioritizing those that are needed for Ukraine, and the process is good. We are very grateful to German government for doing this.
Worried about the lack of air defense of the eastern flank?
We are doing our share. We have made decisions jointly to buy that. We have Spanish NASAMS in Latvia. There is air policing. There is a whole secure plan of defense, so we are comfortable.
Are you worried that this new policy of allowing Ukraine to attack also military targets, especially from the US, might lead to a direct confrontation between NATO and Russia?
It's not a new policy. It has been there from the beginning, because from the early on, when it became clear that Ukraine was both able to defend and ready to defend, and that Russia was not going to take Kiev in 3 days, it was clear that those allies who support Ukraine and will be providing military assistance, lethal assistance, needed to be sure that they don't become party to the war. So we had a thorough legal, political analysis, and that right to self-defense that Ukraine has under UN Charter against military aggression by Russia includes right also not only to strike Russian forces on Ukrainian territory, but legitimate military objects also on the Russian territory. So legitimate military objects is a key word, meaning those that Russia uses to attack, that Russia is preparing to attack, and so on and so forth. So we will hear from the US itself. Currently it's media reports, so we will know more.
But there are countries such as Germany who are still hesitant, especially the German Chancellor. Should he follow the example of the US and other countries and allow Ukraine to use Russian weapons?
In our view, yes, because it provides the ability for Ukraine to defend itself not only easier, but also it's much more efficient for us, providing the aid that Ukraine is able to take out those capabilities from Russia will be attacking it. And it's very clear in case of Kharkiv what is happening. Russia is attacking from its own territory. So how can Ukraine not self-defend? So let's just do it. Thank you so much.
It's okay, Craig.
Genau,